In January, I preached a sermon on how to winter, practices for cold, dark, difficult seasons. Now, I know some of you love winter. Who are you? Raise your hands. Own it. It's good. It's good. You eagerly await its arrival each year, and truly, I love that for you. But for many of us, myself included, these colder, darker days can be tough. Anybody? Okay. Now, I know some of you are dreading these long, hot, sweaty days of summer, but summer has always been my favorite season. I love the heat. I love the warmth. When it's 100 degrees outside, I'm like, let's go running. Anyone else love summer? All right, I see some hands out there. You don't have to love running in 100-degree heat to love summer. The poet James Pearson writes that the invitation of winter is to reconnect with those lost and wounded parts of yourself that hold the seeds of a new spring. The invitation of summer is to give and receive wholeheartedly, immersed in the full flow of your belonging in the world. Summer invites us outward toward connection, delight, and play. Summer reminds us that rest is not only about slowing down and recharging, but also about saying yes to the beauty, connection, and delight that makes us grateful to be alive. I invite you to remember some of the best summers that you had in your childhood or teenage years. What did you do? Or most importantly, what did you not do? Remember the freedom, the spaciousness, days that seemed to stretch on forever in a good way. Sleeping in, staying up late, exploring outdoors, swimming, reading for pleasure, laughing with friends, or losing track of time without consequence because there were no deadlines waiting for you. For many of us, summer offers a glimpse of another way of living, a life with less pressure, less urgency, and more room to simply be. If we consider Memorial Day weekend to be the unofficial beginning of summer, then we are 1 week in with 14 weeks to go until Labor Day. 14 weeks to practice summer, to intentionally make more space for rest, joy, connection, and delight. Part of the invitation of summer is getting back in touch with your inner child, who really is still in there, who knows how to play and wander and lose track of time. My soon-to-be 3-year-old is a natural at all those things, playing, wandering, losing track of time. We really need to go totally oblivious, right? If you haven't already, can you schedule 1 or more full weeks to clear your calendar and practice responding to the invitation of summer, to immerse yourself in the full flow of your belonging in the world? This congregational year, I've intentionally preached at least one sermon each month on resistance, how to resist the rising tide of authoritarianism and defend our democracy and rights. But I've also preached at least one sermon each month on resilience, how to prioritize self-care for such a time as this. The subtitle of this sermon brings those two themes together: rest as resistance. Because even in a time when greater acts of resistance are urgently needed, rest itself can be an act of resistance, refusing to surrender every part of ourselves to exhaustion, fear, and endless urgency. As one of my colleagues likes to say, do not let them steal all of your joy. As you continue reflecting on how you feel called to practice summer, I invite you to hear a poem by James Pearson titled Tradecraft from his beautiful book, The Wilderness That Bears Your Name. If this poem resonates with you, I highly recommend this pretty brief collection. It made my list of the top 10 best books I read in 2025. As I read this poem, notice whether one or more phrases particularly resonates with you. That may be a clue to the invitation summer is particularly inviting you toward. This is a season for disappearing. Slip away to where no one knows to find you. Meet yourself right where you've always hungered to be met. Now is the time to cheat on all the names the world has learned to call you, to be unfaithful to who you thought you wanted to become. Plan 100 secret rendezvous with a delicious stranger that you are discovering yourself to be. Don't tell a soul what you're doing or where it is you go at all hours. Be clandestine. Protect the source. In a culture that constantly demands productivity, performance, and outrage, there is something quietly radical about becoming clandestine again, about protecting the source of our own aliveness. This summer, protect the source. So if you're looking for a clear, practical how-to guide for practicing summer, I recommend this workbook, Mindful Self-Compassion for Burnout, Tools to Help You Heal and Recharge When You Are Wrung Out by Stress. It's by Kristen Neff and Christopher Germer. Neff is a psychologist at the University of Texas at Austin, and Germer is a clinical psychologist and lecturer at Harvard Medical School. If you've been reflecting on we've been reflecting on the importance of rest, but some of you may be experiencing something more serious than just needing a vacation. If your life is just always busy, you're not in a busy season. That's just your life, and it needs to change. Some of you may be closer to burnout, emotionally exhausted, overwhelmed, depleted, discouraged, or numb. You may be tired of carrying so much responsibility, tired of trying to meet everyone's expectations, tired of caring so deeply while wondering whether any of your effort is making enough of a difference. And for many of us, this relentless cycle of alarming headlines, political chaos, deliberate cruelty from the highest echelons of power only deepens that exhaustion. Neff and Germer emphasize that burnout is not a personal failure, it is not a sign of weakness. Burnout often grows worse when we ignore our pain, judge ourselves harshly for struggling, or try to keep pushing through. A more healing response is self-compassion, learning to respond to our suffering with greater kindness, honesty, and understanding. Not self-indulgence, not pretending everything is fine, but developing practical habits that help us stop treating ourselves like machines and start treating ourselves like we truly are, human beings. We often have far less control over what is happening around us than we wish we did. We cannot single-handedly stop political turmoil, economic anxiety, climate disruption, illness, grief, injustice, and the daily flood of stressful news. But we do have some influence about how do we relate to all of those realities, how do we relate to them internally. We can respond to our struggles with harsh self-criticism, or we can learn to meet them with greater tenderness, patience, and care. Self-compassion does not magically remove all of your suffering, but it can change the way that suffering moves through us. Neff and Germer also emphasize that there are two different forms of self-compassion. Tender self-compassion is the gentle, nurturing side. It comforts us when we are hurting and allows us to acknowledge exhaustion, sadness, fear, grief, or discouragement without shame. Tender self-compassion says, of course you are struggling right now. We are living through extraordinarily difficult times. But self-compassion is not only soft and gentle. Sometimes genuine compassion requires fierceness. Sometimes caring for ourselves means setting boundaries, saying no, asking for help, confronting harmful situations, protecting our energy, or refusing to keep sacrificing ourselves on the altar of unreasonable expectations. Tender self-compassion comforts that exhausted part of ourselves that wants to collapse. Fierce self-compassion is the part that says something has to change. It's like the difference between a loving parent gently holding a hurting child and a mama bear fiercely protecting her cub from danger. In times of burnout, we often need both. If we only focus on acceptance, we may become passive or resigned. And if we focus only on pushing harder, taking more and more action, we may exhaust ourselves even further. Healing requires both tenderness and courage, rest and boundaries, self-acceptance and meaningful change. And if you're wondering, what does all this look like specifically? Neff and Germer's workbook offers many practical exercises. For now, I'll focus on just one, learning how to set healthier boundaries. For many of, I hear some people are like, yeah, okay. For many of us, burnout is not only caused by the difficult realities around us, but also by the inability to say no, to ask for what we need, and to protect our time and energy. So I want to share just a few examples of compassionate but honest phrases that we can experiment with saying as we seek to practice summer in whatever form we most need right now in this season of our lives. Feel free to adapt them in any way that fits your personality, temperament, and circumstances. So I know this might disappoint you, but that's just not going to work for me right now. Now, I appreciate your asking me, but I can't do it. But here are some other options. Now, I'd like to help, but I need to take care of myself by saying no. Take a moment to breathe those in. How does it feel in your body to imagine saying one or more of those sentences out loud in response to a request someone is making of you? For some of us, it might feel exhilarating, like, let's do it. For others of you, it may produce immediate anxiety, guilt, a tightness in your chest, fear of disappointing other people. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that constantly saying yes is what makes us good, responsible, and worthy of love. And if you want to work on that, email me for my list of therapist referrals. But practicing self-compassion means learning that our needs matter too. Your needs matter too. Not just what's the most loving thing for the other person, but what's the most loving thing for both me and the other person. You matter too. Healthy boundaries are not a betrayal of love. They are one of the ways that true, genuine love stays sustainable. As a therapist and somatics teacher, Prentice Hemphill puts it, boundaries are the distance at which I can love both you and me simultaneously. Or to put the same insight a little more bluntly, I recently heard a meditation teacher tell this story. He said, I just left a men's group that I had been in for 2 months. I spent days trying to figure out why. Then I realized I don't need a why. I can just leave. The relief I felt was immediate and it was physical. I'd been unconsciously composing a little exit speech for the facilitator. Anyone ever done something like that? Basically an essay about why it was actually okay for me to stop doing something that I didn't want to do. I'm 38 years old. I can just not do things. Sometimes, yes, exactly. Can I get an amen? Sometimes healthy boundaries begin with the radical realization, radical like getting to the root of things, that not every no requires a courtroom defense argument. What if you just didn't? As you continue to reflect, I invite you to hear another poem by James Pearson. This one is titled Worker Bees. I wonder if you can pause, just for a moment, the emergency that is your life, and step out into the quiet of the world. Hear how gently it conveys the delicate thread of birdsong. Has anyone been delighted in the past few weeks just hearing birdsong? How quickly it can soothe the rupture of a passing jet. Feel its vast, smiling invitation to rest back into the person that you have been your whole life, back to that inner child. Listen now, the poppies bursting over the sidewalk are electric with bees. Look how they bury their little bodies in flower after flower, drunk on their longing for the world. Maybe that's the real work, to fall over and over into the scent of what you love. I love that poem because it reframes rest not as laziness or withdrawal from life, but as a return to life. The poem's invitation is to become fully present again, to reconnect with beauty, wonder, longing, love, and aliveness in a world that constantly pressures us to remain only anxious, hurried, and overwhelmed. The real work is not endlessly grinding ourselves down in the pursuit of productivity, but learning, like those honeybees, to fall over and over into the scent of what you love. To touch more fully into that piece, I want to invite you to experience one of the most popular exercises from Neff and Germer's Mindful Self-Compassion program. It's called the Self-Compassion Break. So if you feel comfortable doing so, I invite you to assume a meditation posture, just sitting up just a little straighter so that you can be relaxed yet alert. Placing your feet flat on the floor, again, just listening to your body ultimately. These are just suggestions. Maybe putting one hand on your heart and the other on your stomach, offering yourself a warm, gentle, soothing touch. And then if you wish, closing your eyes. At the heart of this self-compassion practice are three simple phrases that you say silently to yourself. You can do these anywhere. You are welcome to adapt the wording in whatever way feels most authentic and supportive for you. The first phrase brings us mindfully into the present moment. Try saying silently to yourself, slowly, compassionately, "This is a moment of suffering. This is a moment of suffering." Or you can try, "This is hard. I feel so stressed and exhausted." Or "I'm really hurting." Let's try that together now, just for about 1 minute, silently, slowly, and gently repeating that phrase to yourself. This is a moment of suffering. Turning to the second phrase, it reminds us that what we are experiencing is not unique. It's a part of being human. Try saying to yourself, struggle is a part of being human. Or you might try, I'm not alone. Or we all face stress in this life. Or this is how it feels when a person is worn out. Again, let's sit gently for about 1 minute, silently saying to yourself, struggle is a part of being human. Turning to the third phrase, in the minute of silence to follow, try saying silently to yourself, may I be kind to myself in this moment. Or even simply saying to yourself, I love you. May I be kind to myself in this moment. Before we end this practice, take a moment to notice how you feel in your body. Allowing your experience to be just as it is. Allowing yourself to be just as you are, right here, right now, if only for the arising and passing away of this present moment. And as you feel ready, gently, compassionately, returning your attention to this room, continuing in a spirit of meditation as the choir sings. You may rest now. Can you give yourself that permission this summer? I'm going to try. This summer, I'll be on a 3-month sabbatical from Monday, June 7th through Labor Day. Don't worry, I'll still be in town except for one weekend when I'll be on retreat if there are any major emergencies. I'm aware that the world is on fire, so I will be around if needed. But we also have a wonderful lineup of speakers and musicians for our summer Sunday services. During those months, I hope to spend some time reading, not just for sermons, running, catching up on films, meditating, and hopefully writing a book that I'll let you know about in the fall. We'll see. But more importantly, what does that list awaken in you? What are the deeper callings, projects, or dreams that you rarely have enough time for? Can you carve out some time this summer to reconnect with the thing that you long to do, that calls to you most strongly? Even just a little bit each day can really add up remarkably over time. And let me ask you this too. Have you taken all of your available vacation time this year? If not, could you get some or all of it on the calendar? Could you do that next week? And because our individual life circumstances vary so widely, let me offer a few additional possibilities for practicing self-compassion. Research suggests that self-compassion can grow through many different pathways: spending time with a beloved pet, practicing yoga, immersing yourself in nature, going to therapy, meditating, supporting others, or simply going for a long walk. Does one or more of those resonate deeply with you, call to you? Or perhaps something else comes to mind. Almost anything that we do for ourselves with a compassionate heart can become part of this transformative practice of self-compassion. Despite the pressure to constantly achieve, perform, and prove ourselves, our goal is actually not perfection. You are saved from perfection, as you heard me say before. You're not going to get there. You're saved from perfection. The goal is actually, as our UU values remind us, to increasingly put love at the center. Love for ourselves, love for others, love for this world, learning little by little to treat ourselves with the same compassion that we so naturally offer to others in our presence who are suffering and hurting, to just turn that back on ourselves. May the struggles of this season become for you, for me, for all of us, not only a burden, but also a doorway into deeper compassion. And may the compassion you learn to offer yourself become a gift to everyone that you meet. So think about practicing summer. I'll share with you just one final thing. I want you to briefly come back to me to a mythical time called 2003. It's a little over 20 years ago, but a really different world in a lot of ways. And that spring, I was in my final semester of seminary, and I had a Nokia flip phone. Anybody remember back when we had flip phones? And I lived on the third story of an apartment building, seminary dorm, and I just kind of tripped one day, and I dropped my cell phone straight down 3 flights of stairs, and just, and you know what? I didn't replace it, because we had a landline. Remember those? They came with the apartment. And for that spring, I got so much focused studying done, because people couldn't find me, right? And I think I maybe missed 2 things that I might have done otherwise that I didn't know about in advance. They were kind of last minute things. And then, graduating seminary that fall, I went to serve a congregation, and I was living in an apartment by myself, and I didn't have cable, I didn't have the internet. I had 3 Netflix DVDs at a time. Remember that? And sometimes I was like, come on, mail, give me a Netflix DVD. Because otherwise it was just meditate, read a book. I don't know, there wasn't this endless scroll. There wasn't this constant. And so kind of where I'm going with this is you can choose to recapture some of that. And I think the easiest way to do this, and I do it occasionally, is I'll be honest with you, I can't do what I'm about to say when I'm really stressed out and discombobulated. I need to go running with Spotify or a podcast or something. But when I'm feeling more settled and centered, I love to just go do a meditative run. Just, leave my phone at home and just go run. And you can do that. You can start with just leave your phone at home and just go for a walk. You will be different. Even just having your phone in your pocket, it changes your attention. So just try that. And if an emergency happens, every single person around you will have a phone. Don't worry. They will call 911 for you if that's really needed. If someone needs you, the number they probably need to be calling is not your number, but 911. It'll probably be okay. So So just invite you to consider practicing some of that this summer. See how it is for you. And as you do continue your journey, as the choirs sing about in their meditation of love, continue your journey with the part you can control. Continue your journey with love at the center. Care for one another. Care for this one earth. Do justice and make peace. And as you go, whatever taste or touch you've had in this time and place of even just a little more hope or love or peace or joy, that goes with you out into the world. We are different for having spent this time together. And even in this very hard time in the world, continue to look for and to savor all that still remains good and true and beautiful. May you live boldly. May you live with thanksgiving.